Oh, yeah. Hey, welcome everybody. It is Sunday. Oh no, Monday. No, Thursday night.
Oh,
But this still is in the batter's box. It is the NGSC Sports Weekly Baseball Show. I am your host, Ralph Garcia. Welcome everybody. Along with the crew from Jersey. He is the host of the Enhanced Sports Show, Saturday 4 to 6 p.m. It's late. It's Thursday. You better be calling now.
better
Uh,
hurry.
and of course, co-host of In the Batter's Box, Mr. Louis Tenor. Louis!
Ralph? I know.
How about them Yankees, Louis?
Yeah, they're hot. I know. You can't stand it.
Yeah.
I know.
I went to my friend's house the other day. He had a Yankee cap on, and I told him before I came in the house, I need you to take that off. He said, "Oh, come on, I'm in my house." I said, "Listen, all due respect. If I come in and you keep the hat on, I'm not responsible for my actions. I just want to make the disclaimer now."
Right.
He said, "Jesus, Ralph, you take this too seriously. Let me take the damn hat off." And he threw it, and it literally landed on his rack. I was like, "Ain't that something?" I said, "Can you do that if you threw it at the trash can?" Uh, anytime you want. Anytime you want. I'm doing a show. Why does everybody want to contact me now? Check out the website. It is NG. Oh no, the other guy. Don't forget the other guy, the partner, the buddy, the co-host of Inquire's Box, the guy who was sitting rinkside last night, as NGSC Sports is so proud and privileged and honored to have played a role in history. I'm gonna say it like they do down south. Hey, y'all can say what you want, cause we in the history books. Y'all can't take that away.
Right.
Can't take it away, people. NGSC Sports was in the house last night. Sungus Arena, Game 5, PWHL Walter Cup, the Professional Women's Hockey League Championship Finals. John, packed house, good crowd, great series, great hockey. And even though it didn't turn out the way we in Boston would have liked it, what a hell of a first year for the PWHL.
Yeah, there's no question about it. They hit home runs in a variety of ways. They hit home runs when it came to ticket sales. They hit home runs when it came to corporate sponsorships. Their YouTube channel already has over 100,000 subscribers to it. They hit home runs in a variety of ways. Sports Journal has already given them an award for best startup league. And this thing just has legs that I think is going to allow it to become a pretty sustainable operation for many years to come. Last night was, I think, a very good example. A crowd of 6,309 people showed up in Sunday Center to see if PWHL Boston could complete the comeback and win that series. And unfortunately, they just ran out of gas. They ran out of gas after that first period, and they would end up losing 3-0. But they had a great run, obviously, and I think they've created a fan base not only in the Boston area, but also where I'm located, which is Merrimack Valley, Middlesex County area, and also into New Hampshire as well, that I do think is going to allow this thing to become rather sustainable for them. The good news is that all of these teams, by the time August rolls around, are going to get logos and they're going to get nicknames for their teams, so that when they resell their merchandise for next year, they're going to make even more money.
Yeah.
Congratulations to PWHL Minnesota on winning the first ever Walter Cup for the Professional Women's Hockey League. But for the team that we cover, congratulations to
Very good.
To the coach, Coach Kessel. Congratulations to Boston. The job, John, that that Erin Frankel has done behind the net, and I just got goosebumps just thinking about it. We talked about it earlier, John, the job that she did behind the net all year, and then it really stood on her head in the playoffs.
Oh, she absolutely did. I mean, there's a reason why people consider her to be potentially the best goaltender in the world. There's a reason why she plays for Team USA when it comes to national team responsibilities. She was just tremendous in that playoff run. And not only the playoff run, but also the run that got them to the playoffs as well. She was just tremendous for this team and really is the reason why they had the opportunity that they had last night. This was a team that was offensively challenged. They had given up more goals than they had scored in the playoffs, despite the fact that they got to a game 5. But Franco was the reason why they had that opportunity. She was amazing at times and tried last night to pull off something that obviously was very difficult to do, which was basically keep that team alive for as long as she could until hopefully somebody had some legs left to do something. Unfortunately, it didn't happen, but she was amazing. You could put a highlight reel package together.
Unbelievable.
That would be incredible.
Unbelievable. And I would be remiss to not close out this PWHL segment by saying congratulations also to PWHL champion, the number 1 overall pick and playoff MVP, Taylor Heide, who showed she is more than worthy of the number 1 pick. She was the best player in these playoffs, John.
Yeah, she was the best player in the finals, no question.
The finals for sure, right.
She was the best player in the finals, no doubt. And they had a very difficult time slowing her down. They had a very difficult time in keeping her out of the grade A areas where she could really score her goals and maximize whatever opportunities that she got. I mean, there's a reason why she was tied for the most points in that series with 8. She had 5 goals. She just always was able, with her legs and her speed, to be able to create opportunities for herself that Boston just had a very difficult time slowing down and stopping.
So keep up with us at NGSC Sports. You know, we enjoyed our first year. John, again, they're covering PWHL Boston. We'll be doing that again. We've got some, hopefully got some podcasts coming up with the GM, the coach. We want to cover Boston, make sure they get all that they deserve. And congratulations to the women, 6,309 loud people. There were, John, you and I were talking that I used to tell you that there were like 16, 18, 20,000 people watching the game on YouTube. Last night, it went over 60,000 was watching it at one time.
We had people that showed up from Alaska, from Tennessee, from Oregon, from California, just to see this game. That's the kind of far-reaching magnitude that last night possessed for not only the league and for the 2 teams that were playing, but really, sections of this country have really become very much interested in what they were doing and what they were accomplishing, and really wanted to see it in person. And
one last thing, John. Apparently, and I would understand why. Apparently, the projection of how many jerseys they would sell fell short, because I hear that every time there was a home game,
they sold them out.
They were gone in minutes.
Yeah, they sold them out. And that's amazing. And now, again, in Boston's case, you're talking about 16 home games when you count the 12 regular season games plus the 4 games that they had in the playoffs. So it was 16 altogether. And the fact that they were able to sell out jerseys in 16 straight games will tell you the kind of money they were generating. And I don't know if that was the case across the landscape of the league, but at least as far as they were concerned, they were making money hand over fist.
Yeah, they didn't anticipate. They could have sold a whole lot more. Joining us now from the road, from Chicago, El Padre, Alejandro Vargas. ¿Qué pasa, pai?
My good office. The
yeah, I see you're in the office. Absolutely.
Yeah, I was stuck in traffic, and it's crazy over here, man. It is insane.
Welcome to Chicago.
Yeah, so they have Lakeshore, like all 4 lanes. Only one is working. So
we just finished just finished just talking about the PWHL Boston and the team that we covered, the Professional Women's Hockey League and championship. But now we're gonna get. Oh, by the way, don't forget the website. The website is NGSCSports.com, where you catch all of your current content. Log on to the website right now, and you'll catch Matthew Wilder. He's our NFL writer. He gives us AFC South final standings projection. And my brother Lyndon wanted to let Matthew know that he thinks the article sucks only because he doesn't like what Matthew said about the Tennessee Titans. I told my brother, get over it. We also have, of course, John's final piece of the year, PWHL piece of the year. Of course, he entitles it Minnesota beats Boston 3-0 for the Walter Cup. Again, congratulations to the PWHL Minnesota. Soon, everybody will have their nicknames and their just the work, their logos. It's going to be beautiful. But we're going to talk baseball. By the way, I have to say this. I'll say this at the end of the show. Join me very soon. I don't know when, because I haven't done the attack on the politicos in like a month or 5 weeks. But Donald Trump just got found guilty of 34 counts, 34 felonies. So I'm going to have to do a show here real soon. Anyway, on that note, that was the first seismic event that happened today. But another seismic event happened. It happened in baseball. You know, when John and I started this, you know, and we did the baseball show, John has always been great at bringing in guests. You know, we've had guests, you know, multiple times to talk about the Negro League and the history of the Negro League, the heroes of the Negro League, also the injustices of the Negro League. Because, of course, remember that before Jackie Robinson came into baseball was, like most of America, it was segregated. And the black baseball players, well, they had to make their own way. And that they did. And the Negro Leagues, in the Negro Leagues, they played. And in the Negro Leagues, they flourished. But the injustices never stopped, because basically what these men, and some of us, all of us here and some of us everywhere, know some of the names. But what they did was bury the accomplishments of these men, as if not only they, but their game never existed. And finally, Major League Baseball does the right thing. Not too long ago, in recognizing the Negro Leagues. And then we hear the news. Negro League stats are now a part of Major League Baseball history, people, changing the entire landscape of baseball. You got to think, folks. John and I are in our 60s. We have associated the greats of baseball specifically by name. The best of the best in baseball by name. Those names have now changed. John, for me, being a minority, always in touch with the history of minorities, the transgressions, all the bad stuff. For me as a minority, it's a great moment, because it is something that we both know. You and I have been discussing it for over a decade. Long overdue. It's here. And damn, John, did it change the leaderboard, buddy, or what?
Yeah, it changed the leaderboard. It's also going to make things a bit more confusing now, because now you're going to have to recognize Josh Gibson as potentially the greatest baseball player that ever existed, just based on the statistics that he put out there. Again, the question now becomes, how legitimate are these numbers? How did Major League Baseball come to the conclusion that he did what he did during the time that he actually played the game? I think that's always going to be rather debatable. And I think it needs to be something that Major League Baseball is going to have to definitively put out there, so that the argument of whether it's Josh Gibson or whether it's Babe Ruth or whether it's Ty Cobb or whoever else you want to put in that particular category, that you have a definite way of being able to make the argument either way. But for now, it looks like Josh Gibson is going to be number one when it comes to the potential of being the greatest player that Major League Baseball has ever produced, even though he never played in an actual Major League Baseball game. He leads in several categories, most notably being hits, all-time hits. But I think it's an argument that is going to continue for quite some time. I don't know whether Major League Baseball has opened up a can of worms here or not, but they do need to be able to definitively define how Josh Gibson's numbers were found and make sure that everything that they're about to put into their database is in fact legitimate.
No, it's going to be an entire cluster, as they would say.
Yes.
But at least Alejandro now, I think the record has been set straight. Like John said, there's going to be, and John and I talked before a couple of hours ago. There's going to be some controversy. Unfortunately,
it is already.
Hold on. Unfortunately, we live in a society, as we know, that is so racially charged and politically charged.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be people that are not going to like these black men surpassing their heroes. But the fact is a fact, Alejandro. The right thing was done.
I could argue that. Negro League is a thing that deserves a lot of respect. It's a league that had a lot of borders to cross and things like that. But at the same time, I mean, putting the race aside, they two completely different leagues. Level of competition, they never face against each other. So I think, I mean, Major League should have, like, put Negro Leagues, like, trying to work on with people with database and trying to gather all the data they can and put it in a different wing, and the MLB in a different wing, because they were completely different. I mean, it's kind of confusing to everybody now, especially like percentages, because the Negro Leagues, they play inconsistent. I mean, they have seasons of 110 games, then they have seasons of 70 something. So you can't really, it's just hard to match, especially percentages. But I'm wondering what holds up for the future in baseball with this new norm now, because it's kind of crazy. And I get your point. A lot of people, like older white folks. I mean, no, Ted Williams, this and that, but they never play against each other. So I don't know if integrating the stats are the smart thing, or just putting them, setting MLB records on one side and exposing Negro League's records on the other. I think they got the personnel, like MLB, to gather that data and put it, expose it to the people, for fans to see it. But as far as mixing it up, that's kind of crazy, man.
It's going to get crazy, Louis. Right, Louis?
Yeah, definitely will get crazy. It's going to get more confusing. But I do think the time is right that the stats should count in. I mean, it's been long overdue, and it also, I think, shows respect for the players. Prior before coming to the Major League itself, that the records do get recognition. I mean, it's only been 80, 90 some odd years. Gotta give proper respect where proper respect is due. I know it's gonna cause a lot of confusion with
they're going to take a few of those titles away from the Yankees. You know
that. Yeah, not gonna happen though.
I prefer they take 27 away.
Yeah, I know you would, but still, it's not gonna happen. No, but it is about time that the Negro Leagues do get recognition for because that is a professional league, even though it's not the same as the MLB, but it's still rightfully deserved.
Yeah.
And it's like having Coca-Cola paying the Spencer for Pepsi.
You make a good point, Alejandro, because I like the point that you made, because John, fact is fact. These guys never played against each other. Exactly. The Negroes never played
Right.
in Major League Baseball. We don't know how they would have done against Major League pitching. But then
They
again,
would probably destroy it, but at the same time, they didn't play.
I was going to say, but then again, stories say that they were better, but we'll never know. Now,
Right. And that's going to end up being the confusing part of the whole thing is the fact that you're basing all of this on stories that have lived for generations after generations. But how accurate are these stories?
so I'm going to read a few, and I mean a few, of these big changes on the leaderboard. And some of these are freaking mind-boggling, guys. It's almost like, what? For example, single season batting average. In 1894, a man named Hugh Duffy batted .440 for Boston's NL franchise, which would eventually become the Atlanta Braves. The entire National League, which then included the Cleveland Spiders and Louisville Colonels, batted .309. Duffy's record, while not necessarily a widely celebrated achievement over the years, would stand for well over a century. But wait. Now, we know that in 1943, just 2 years before an old-timers committee put Duffy in the Hall of Fame, Josh Gibson hit an astonishing .466, 116 for .249 for the Negro League's Homestead Grays. Now, you ready? Here's the line that got to me.
Yeah.
If one were to extrapolate Gibson's numbers in 1943 over the 154-game season that was then the norm in the AL and the NL,
Yes.
that would have given him 241 hits in 154 games, 233 RBIs, and 193 runs scored. John.
Now that's going to be the problem with this. You just created the problem, and that's going to be the problem with this.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to put Josh Gibson's 200 at bats up against, say, Ted Williams' 400 season of 154 games.
Yeah.
That's where the problem is really going to, I think, magnify itself. How do you justify putting Josh Gibson's numbers off a 200 at bat season against somebody who did it over 154 games?
That's one of my points there. One of my issues with that.
Yeah, no, and that's a good
one. Also,
that's
let's not forget, Negro Leagues had a tons of great hitters, including Jackie Robinson, including Gibson. You name it. There's a lot of talent there, but they didn't have a Christian Matheson pitching. They didn't have they had a Satchel Paige, but there was a lot of pitching in the MLB. So you can't really, I don't know if putting it together, you can't. It's not the same level.
It's not the same level. Yeah. I mean, and we'll never know. They got another one here, slugging percentage. Not only had nobody surpassed Babe Ruth's record of 690 since the Bambino's career ended in 1935, nobody had even challenged it. Ted Williams, 634 was the closest.
Yeah,
and Barry Bonds, 607 was the only qualifier in recent decades to even reach the 600 mark. But now, Ruth is number 2 on that list. Thanks again to Josh Gibson. Now, what is Josh Gibson's final tally? 718.
And how many at bats?
That's right. And again, ridiculous numbers, but like you said, 400 at bats, 200 at bats. It's as if you're saying, I'm going to give you the same credit that I'm going to give this guy who did half the work that you did.
And I do think at some point Major League Baseball is going to have to understand that that's what they're doing here. And maybe they reconsider this idea to some extent and figure out.
Hopefully do it quick.
Right. They may have to, yeah, they're going to have to do it quick, because I do think that once people start looking at these numbers and start comparing somebody, X to Y, they're going to come to realize that it doesn't work.
I think MLB, in terms of this race thing and doing all this with Negro Leagues, with all the stuff, why don't they do like give away tickets in the inner cities to the school and inner cities and work with like young black athletes and things like that? Amend whatever you did in the past, but for the future, I think. I don't know. It's just a complex thing. I'm a minority myself, uh, but it's complicated.
I guess the question I would have is Major League Baseball actually doing justice to the Negro League by doing this?
No, I don't know, because they ruined the mystique of the Negro Leagues, in my opinion.
I think that's a very interesting question, and I think it's one that Major League Baseball has got to answer here: is why now are you deciding that the Negro League needs to become a part of your family? Why now?
Quoting Rob Manfred, he said, "We are proud that the official historical record now includes the players of the Negro Leagues. This initiative is focused on ensuring that future generations of fans have access to the statistics and milestones of all those who made the Negro Leagues possible. Their accomplishments on the field will be a gateway to broader learning about this triumph in American history and the path that led to Jackie Robinson's 1947 Dodger debut." And you know what? That's all good and fine. But
Yes.
I like that. I like what you said, Alejandro. Does this really do justice to these guys? I mean, you can put their stats up. You didn't have to put them in Major League Baseball. You could just recognize
put it on the
stats.
side, right?
Yeah, you can recognize the
Right.
stats.
Definitely.
And I guess the other question I would have is, if you're going to educate future generations about the Negro League, how do you begin that process?
Why don't you instead of invest money in the Negro Leagues and have a database and have a page
Oh yeah.
with
Oh,
everything that a fan needs to know? Instead, you're just recognizing it and not doing anything to expose what the Negro League was in terms of like media, things like that. It's just like a weird thing, man.
and speaking of media, like John and I were talking earlier, we don't have film on these guys. Who has film? There's no real film on these guys. They're nobody.
And not only is there no film on these guys, but how accurate is the bookkeeping that these leagues kept?
Right. Yeah. By the way, I don't think there was there any audio? I mean, I don't know.
No.
You would
doubt that.
But I mean, I would be curious as to how accurate are the score books that were kept of these games.
Probably.
This all boils down to one thing. And again, I'm citing here an article from Anthony Castrovince of MLB, where he entitles it "What to Know About Negro League Stats Entering the MLB Records," and he says it really good right here. He asks the question, why are the Negro Leagues being added to the historical record now? And like he says, and we know, essentially to right a wrong. It certainly was not the fault of black baseball stars such as Gibson, Cool Papa Bell, Oscar Charleston, Jesus Christ. Oscar Charleston was another one. That they were
great hitters, man. Great hitters.
Right, absolutely.
That they were forbidden from participating in the NL and the AL, and recognizing the Negro Leagues as major leagues is in keeping with the long-held beliefs that the quality of the segregation era Negro League circuits was comparable to the MLB product in that same time period. Again, kind of filling in the space that we were talking about. How do you, it still doesn't make up for the fact that this guy had 212 at bats and the other guy had 457. I mean, it doesn't make up for that. But that's what basically this is. It's righting a wrong because they shouldn't have been in the Negro Leagues.
Way.
Right.
Yeah.
And by the way, we talked about the hitters.
They should
look at it from the pitcher's point of view. Satchel Paige's numbers are going to now just fly off
off the handlebars.
Right. They're going to fly.
Yeah. Page was like 50.
Now, Satchel Paige did end up pitching in the major leagues at the very end of his career, but his best stuff was done while the Negro League was still in existence. So how do you do that with him?
Yeah.
Yeah. It is confusing.
It is. It's absolutely confusing. And I think, in Major League Baseball's attempt to right a wrong, they may have done it in the incorrect way.
Yes, that's what I say. They should, instead of concentrating on that, should concentrate on the future of the game and the future of integration of the game of baseball with like black kids now. Like
maybe what you could
like
do, Alejandro,
a black family cannot afford to go to a baseball game because it's too expensive.
Oh, absolutely. That's correct. And I think what you might be able to do is use the Negro League history and use the numbers to try and do that, to try and get into the Negro neighborhoods and at least provide them with access to the education and to the history of the league. And hopefully that creates a bit of a fan base that they can eventually integrate into the game itself.
Yeah.
Question here: why did it take so long to incorporate the Negro Leagues into the statistical record? So the answer, he writes, once the 2020 decision was made to include the Negro Leagues, MLB MLB and its official statistician, the Elias Sports Bureau, had to complete a review process of the seam heads data, and MLB and seam heads had thorough and detailed discussions on how the data would be utilized. So MLB built upon the seam heads database with the help of RetroSheet, an organization that computerizes major league games from prior to 1984, and a 16-team-member Negro League Statistical Review Committee was formed to determine, among other things, what minimum standards would be put in place for Negro League players to qualify for season or career leaderboards. Complicating the process was the understandably scattershot nature of the Negro League schedules, which was covered later on. So and here's the minimum standards for inclusion. For a single season, the minimum standard is 3.1 plate appearances.
3.1.
3.1 plate or 1 inning pitched per scheduled game. Consistent with the standard we're familiar with in the AL and the NL. But they said because of inconsistencies in their schedules or the available data, the minimum qualifier for each league and season is based upon the average number of games played by each team multiplied by the 3.1 plate appearances for hitters and 1 inning for pitchers. And those values are subject to change as more data is discovered.
Yeah, that's
it's pretty good. They're doing their due diligence, John, to get these stats as good as they can, but it's
inaccurate.
It's still going to be too much of a gray area.
Yeah.
And
it's going to stay that way always.
Now, if you include the stats, what do you do with the championships?
That's another question.
You can't live them out.
Right, you can't. That's another question.
Because eventually, the Negro League is part of the MLB now. So what do we do with the championships?
Yeah.
So the Yankees are only like 13-time champions.
Right.
No, I'm just kidding. Bro.
Actually, you're going down a road that really could end up being legitimate here.
It really can.
Championships that might actually
you say it as a joke, but
there's
if they decide to incorporate everything and they start going with titles and all of this, now what?
World Series titles that the Yankees won, or even the Red Sox or other teams that did,
anybody
aren't going to count anymore because, unfortunately, you've now incorporated the Negro League, which means you're going to have to incorporate their titles, their championships, their dynasty teams, whatever they were, and incorporate them into everything.
It's a simple thing just to put everything apart. Like I say before, if you run in Coca-Cola, you now gonna be happy paying the expenses of Pepsi Cola.
Right.
The sales
I
report,
guess not.
even though it's the same product, are not going to be the same.
I
You
guess
need
not.
it's not a thing of race, it's not a thing of culture, it's not a thing of feeling bad or feeling good. This is a thing of organization and structure. And I think it's wrong. It's wrong for the Negro Leagues, and it's wrong for like legends of MLB. They never compete against each other, and that is the main issue with this.
Well, we're going to find out because this is going to
So
be.
how does the
And
Hall
one
of
more.
Fame now?
It's
The
gonna be a
other
battle.
component is the Hall of Fame itself now. How does
Yeah.
the Hall of Fame take this
Oh,
information, and do they now decide that there are more Negro League players that need to be inducted?
You see, that's
And
something that they could work with. They
Yeah.
could induct a Negro League member
Yes.
into the batch of whatever they do with the MLB players that play 5, 6 years ago, 10 years ago. They could do that, and that's something this is worth celebrating. But you can't. It's like I say, you can really merge something that were never united.
Yes.
As hard as it sounds.
But I think that's the
Yeah.
accurate way to put it. You can't merge something that was never united in the first place. You can't do it.
now, one last thing, and this is from Brian Murphy on this Negro League stats and stuff. He entitles it "Reality of Josh Gibson's incredible talent transcends even his legend." And he starts really interesting. He says, "The only thing grander than Josh Gibson's power on a baseball field might have been the stories told about his power. It is believed that in 1930, an 18-year-old Gibson launched a ball that traveled beyond the 457-foot fence in center field at Forbes Field in Pittsburgh. First of all, I don't give a damn who you are. If you're 18 years old and you can
If you hit
hit
a
a ball
450, that's
dead center over 457, holy crap.
Yeah.
Jesus. There are claims that he hit. There are claims that he listen. There are claims that he hit home runs out of Yankee Stadium in 1930, 34, and 37. And
That's
the
the old,
Sporting News,
very first version of Yankee Stadium.
yep, and the Sporting News wrote in 1967 that the third. This is freaking mind-boggling. That the 1937 shot out of Yankee Stadium traveled 580 feet and actually fell a couple of feet shy of leaving the ballpark, period. 580 feet. Somebody help me out here. That's a long way for a baseball to go.
that is a
That's
long.
very long,
The,
right?
the longest I've seen is like 4, 5, 6, or 7.
550 something, right?
I mean, with my eyes.
It's so. And now Josh Gibson basically takes over the leaderboard.
Right. As
Yes.
I said, Josh Gibson now becomes the greatest player of all time.
Yeah, and that's going to be a lot of debate. So a very interesting topic here. I have a funny feeling, John, that we're going to be circling back to this a few times.
When June 20th comes, that's when the Negro game is going to be played in Birmingham, Alabama. And I would think that in that weekend, Major League Baseball is really going to have to explain how this all works.
Too many questions.
Right.
Yeah.
So John comes up with a topic of his very own today. We look at minor league money over the last 5 years. John, what's that?
All right. Now, remember, in 2019, when the minor leagues were in existence, the year before COVID hit, the New York Penn League was still in existence. And as we know, when the COVID year hit in 2020, the New York Penn League essentially went away. And Major League Baseball decided that there would be two short-term leagues that would no longer exist. Now, what has been done here by Baseball America is they have done a salary check over the last 5 years, from 2019 to 2024, to see how things have changed and if they've changed for the better. And at the rookie league level in 2019, if you were playing in the New York Penn League, or if you were playing in other short season leagues, you made $3,480. Now
That's a year.
That's a year. Now you would make $19,800 playing rookie league baseball at the minor league level. At the low A level in 2019, you made $6,380 for the year. Now you make $26,200.
That's good for a few months.
High A level, you're still making $6,380 back in 2019, but now you're making $27,300. At the double A level, back in 2019, you made an even $7,000. Now you're making $30,270.
And I have a credit card bill larger than that.
And at the AAA level, this is the one I really find somewhat interesting. Back in 2019, if you were playing AAA baseball, you were making $11,000. Now you're making $35,800.
This is AAA.
AAA.
As we mentioned, and I think we talked about this back in 2019, 2018, there were plenty of guys playing minor league baseball that weren't even making minimum wage. And that was always a concern of minor league baseball at that time, because a lot of kids, especially, and I saw them in the New York Penn League, because we were covering the New York Penn League in those days, there were plenty of kids that maxed out credit cards and basically used their signing bonuses to stay alive for the 2.5, 3 months that they were involved with, say, the New York Penn League, because they just weren't making enough money to not be able to do that. And a lot of these kids really didn't understand how to budget their money so that they could survive that one summer, so that they could then figure out how they were going to do things moving forward. This money still, although it's better, it needs to still improve, especially when you get to rookie level,
definitely.
the low A level, and the higher A level. That money still got to improve. It's not good enough.
So let me get this straight. Hold on. A AAA player is getting what? 35 grand a year?
Yeah. But he was in 2019 only getting $11,000 a year.
Yeah, I understand that, but that 33,
that's a couple of root canals.
That's a ripoff. That's a ripoff. You're working hard to achieve a dream. You've gone from single A to double A to triple A, and you're only making 35 grand. I mean, it's like I gotta wait till I make it.
But hold on, Ralph. This is only like 5 months. So I'll take that.
No, but not 35. That's the problem that I got with Major League. That's the problem I got with Major League Baseball. Fucking greed, man. Come on, get out of here. You could pay these guys a whole lot more money than that.
That's right.
Jesus Lord.
It's better than 11,000 for sure.
It is, yes.
Yeah, but you give this guy $400 million. He gives you 2 good years, and then he gives you crap for the next 8. And you could have gave him $100 million. Anyway, I'm not going to go through all that, but at least something's happening. At least something gives here. These guys, because when I hear what you say, John, Jesus Lord, 2-3 months, and these guys, you get a signing bonus. You don't want to use your signing bonus to survive. I mean, somehow the two don't jive. So,
well, you got to remember, back then, especially in the New York Penn League, you were still paying rent because you had to live someplace for 3 months. You were still paying your credit card bill because, again, you were using it. And so whatever money you were making, which wasn't much, was going toward these bills, which meant you had nothing for yourself. Now, the thing about the New York Penn League that we need to remember is that league basically played every night, whether they were on the road or whether they were at home. So they were basically playing every night. So because of that, they spent more time on buses and in ballparks than they really did in whatever apartment or whatever room they were renting for the time that they were involved in this league. But they were still paying rent on rooms that, for the most part, they really weren't using.
Robbery.
I seen some like interviews and things like in podcasting, like podcast interviews with like a lot of Latin players, and the way that they go about it, like sometimes they couldn't even afford to take a bus. They have to walk from like across town Omaha or something like that. And it's just like,
I mean, think about the guys that went hungry, man. That really had it hard. I mean, that's a really shitty thing to do to a kid's dream.
Now, I will say this about the Lowell Spinners, who were a part of the New York Penn League back in that time. At home games, after those home games were done, they would cook a meal for these guys. So
oh,
that
that's good.
they would do it. Now, I don't know if that was done by every team that was a part of the New York Penn League, but they at least did it. But still, there were plenty of guys
Good steak.
that by the time the year was over, they were broke. They were done.
Louis, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, all that time they spent there, and they went broke after that. I mean, that's just not right at all. All that work they put into it.
For so little
Remember,
money.
it's not only MLB, but also minor league teams. Like they make a lot of profit in ticket sales. They make a lot of profit in merchandise. I mean, they make money too. They might not make as much money as in a stadium like the Dodger Stadium or stadium like Busch Stadium, but they make some money. So it's probably not allocated in the right places.
And it's one of the reasons why minor league players eventually decided that becoming unionized was something that needed to be done.
That's good.
Exactly.
Yeah, that would be good for them. That would
they form part of the regular players union. That's good. That's awesome, man.
Now and again, I think the only guys that really survived in this particular platform, especially those back in 2019, were those players that were on the 40-man rosters that were playing at the minor league level. I mean, if you were on the 40-man roster, at least you were getting something else besides whatever you were making at what level you were at.
Yeah.
You were getting merchandise. You were getting something else to go along with.
No, also if
you were getting insurance too, by the way, by being on the 40-man roster.
Like if you're in the 40-man roster, you have a shot to make it to the big leagues. And the big leagues, the salary increases by a lot there.
Oh, significantly, absolutely.
Like $800,000. So that's a good bump for any of these kids that never made that type
What
of money.
I remember from the New York Penn League was if you were a major league player that was on a rehab assignment and you ended up playing in that league, you basically bought dinner for the guys that were on that team on the night that you showed up. Because
I'll buy a whole month.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a positive thing. That is a positive thing, and although it's not that much, it is something. And
at least it's a step in the right direction.
Exactly.
Well, look, I mean, like you just said, John, to close this one out, a step in the right direction for the guys. Not enough, but how do you get there? One step at a time, and at least they're taking the steps in the right direction. I'm going to turn it over to Louis at this time. But first, please, let's always remember I've been really nice. It's 52 minutes into the show. I haven't told Louis once how much I hate.
Not like where this is going.
Yeah, it's going that direction too.
I haven't told Louis in 52 minutes how much I hate the goddamn fucking Yankees. So I haven't had a chance to tell him that. And then on top of that, look, earlier we were talking about the Negro League, right? And Alejandro kind of joked about, the Yankees losing 13 titles or whatever. That's not a joke for me. That's not a joke for me. You have no idea.
Personal,
No, seriously. Yes. I would celebrate. I would celebrate. I don't drink or do drugs anymore, but I would find a way to celebrate.
On the that day, yeah.
If the Yankees could lose 13 titles, I got news for you guys. I don't give a damn how they lose them. If they lost them, it's a celebration. It'd be a celebration all by itself. So
you realize the lawsuits that would be out there that these individual teams.
Oh my God! It would be forget it. Baseball,
forget it.
The games wouldn't be the headlines anymore.
No, it'd be what they're doing in the courtroom.
Exactly. So Louis, we talked about in the beginning of the season of the rough start for Aaron Judge.
Yes.
The calendar has now turned to May, and I'm trying to get to this little stat right here real quick before I
Almost June.
turn it over. Before I turn it over to you guys, it was a very interesting stat right here on him.
What is
I've got
surprising
it.
me most about the Yankees is the pitching.
Yes.
The pitching has been on point. Even guys that were not supposed to be this great, like Stroman, Rodon, like they surprised the hell out of me.
Well, they're
Mark
surprising you
Schmidt,
because they're surprising you because they're staying healthy.
yes,
That's the
yes.
key. You gotta
But
stay healthy.
I think they probably gonna do something good if when Cole comes back they do a 6-man rotation so everybody takes a load off their back a little
So,
a little bit.
so
Yeah.
Louis, Judge's stats in May: batting average 376, on base percentage 495, slugging percentage 906, OPS 1.401, and it
That is
started
insane.
at the, and
Insane.
I like it.
it's insane, and it started at the end of April. Actually, I believe when Judge hit 3 or 4 home runs over the last 7 or 8 games in April, it's carried over to May, which has also carried over to the Yankees. Listen, let me shut the hell up, Louis. What is going on here? This is the kind
I
of
know.
that pisses me off. What's going
I
on?
know. They're getting
And
their
the
act together.
Yankees are in first place. That really pisses me off.
I know. I know. I mean, as soon as Judge is getting his, getting back and healthy together, they're going to fight their way back, and it is showing. This is why the Yankees are in first place, and Judge's bat's been hot, as well as a few other players. Sorry to disappoint you, but the Yankees have found their way back from last season's season in the doldrums.
Well, let's
Yep.
face it, the weather is changing. It's getting a little warmer, and because of that, Yankee Stadium becomes a small ballpark, and that certainly has helped Judge put up the numbers that he's doing.
But you guys focusing a lot on Judge. I mean, they playing everything. They have a lot of balance. It's not only Judge, it's everybody else. Even Gleyber Torres is hitting really well the last couple of weeks. Soto has been Soto. I mean, you knew the day that he got traded to the Yankees, this is going to change them. But what really have impressed me is the way that they are pitching.
Yes.
And this is key because you could survive without judging even in that lineup. They could survive with the rest of those guys. They could score 4 or 5 runs as long as the pitching keeps them on keeps the offense in check for the opposition. And also, like the bullpen is it's been really amazing.
Yeah, you
I'm
just
not a
wonder if
Yankee fan, but I have to give them props. That balance is what keeping them alive.
What was
Yeah,
that,
you
John?
do have to wonder if the pitching can actually stay this way throughout the entire season.
That is key. That is key. We only started
There's
now.
going to be a bump on the road at some point. What happens when the bump on the road takes place?
Yeah,
It's going to happen. You know that it happens. It happens to all teams. You know the Yankees eventually are going to get slowed down. Peyton Jones, what's up, Peyton?
But the other team in New York, however, is really having a serious struggle
Yeah.
with the worst record in May at 7-19, and that would happen to be the Mets, who yesterday had to put Alonso on the injured list and had to put a couple of other guys on the injured list. I mean, that team is falling apart at the seams.
Also, you saw the incident with this Lopez kid, Jorge Lopez, the setup man. He was having a fit with the press and kind of threw the glove. I mean, you can't have attitude like that. They DFA'd the kid. Well, hopefully he finds, a job somewhere else and maybe he matures a little bit more. But he threw everybody under the bus. Eventually, they trying to turn the shit like it was. Like, oh, I say I'm the worst teammate. But I don't know. It was kind of crystal clear what he said there.
Right.
All right, so Ralph, what happens to Alonso, and what happens in that situation in New York? How does this play out? Does Alonso end up in another uniform by the time we get to August, based on the fact that the Mets are just really that bad?
First of
Yeah.
all, Jorge Lopez, of course, apologizes to his teammates,
Right,
his coaches, the fans, the front office,
this
you
doesn't
know,
do
for
him
what
any
he
good.
No.
for what he said. Let me tell you something. First of all, you already said it, okay? And one thing that I've been told, once you open your mouth and you say something the first time, and then you try to change up. Now there are sincere apologies. I'm not talking about sincerity. What I'm
Yeah.
saying here is, when you open your mouth and you say something, you probably said what you meant the first time. Now you got a chance to
Right.
clean it up, right? Uh, So what is that do? He's ejected from the game because he's arguing a check swing with third base umpire. I believe that was Ramon de Jesus, the third base umpire. He throws his glove into the stand first, and he walks off the field. Dude, seriously, I mean, like, we got enough problems in this dugout, in this clubhouse, in this front
Yes.
office with this bullshit baseball team that I have right now called the New York Mets. And you just got to basically show your ass and show exactly, literally, what he did right there was describe the Mets season, not the Mets season till now. It's going to be this way
Yes.
the whole year for the Mets. It is going to be a long year in Citi Field, a long year here. And by the way, do you know why sometimes I don't want to do this fucking show? Because when the Yankees are in first place and my Mets suck, you think I want to see Louis? I don't give a damn how much Louis. You think I want to see him? I got to be reminded of this crap. No. What I think of Jorge Lopez. Look, Peyton Jones wanted to know. Wanted to get your thoughts on what. Those are my damn thoughts on Jorge Lopez. Stupid,
Yeah.
immature, idiotic, uncalled for, and like everybody else, like the guy who cheated on his wife and got caught. Okay, babe, look, listen, I'm sorry. Let me explain. I didn't mean it. Listen, it's too late. Too late.
Yeah.
Too late.
Yeah.
It's too late.
I'd be curious. I'd be curious what direction David Stern take with the Mets. I think I spoke about this last year. They should rebuild, not completely, but they should keep pieces to rebuild around. Like Alonso is a guy that is beloved. I mean, he's loved in New York. Everybody loves that dude.
But you're going to have
Lindor is a guy that's getting paid.
You're going to have to pay Alonso top dollar to keep him, and in doing so, it's going to make it that much more difficult to rebuild.
But they could shed off money by trading a guy like Lindor. Lindor is not performing as a Met. Yes, he had a great WAR last year. Good overall numbers.
Who's going to take that contract?
That's when they need to get creative. Okay, yeah, I want your prospect. I'm gonna eat a chunk of money out of Lindor's thing. Lindor is a guy that potentially could land in the Dodgers, and that kind of takes the pressure off Mookie Betts playing shortstop and go back to
the way the Dodgers are playing. They don't need Lindor.
Yeah.
No, I was about to say I don't know if that's going to be a fit over there in Los Angeles, but I get where you're going. There's changes that are going to be made to this team as far as Alonso. Listen, I feel for Pete. I feel for Pete.
Scherzer's contract is coming off. So is Verlander. So they have money to play with next year.
Right, they will.
Rebuild. I say rebuild at this moment. I know Stern had smart people working with him, like Eduardo Brizuela, my friend. They working in the Mets. They could potentially do something and grab some prospects for some of this.
The problem with rebuilding is where you're located, and the other team that's on the other side of the city. And
right, New York is not. Yeah. We don't do rebuilds in New York.
That's what I'm saying. But you don't need to rebuild an entire thing. You take partial things. St. Louis did it last year.
Well, again, we're talking about New York over St. Louis. Meanwhile, while the Mets are attempting to rebuild, even if it's on a casual way, the Yankees are doing what they do.
Hold your horses, John. St. Louis is a team that's top 5 in attendance. It's a top 5 in ratings.
But it's still not New York. That's the point. It's not.
Oh,
New
it's
York.
not. It's not.
And that's the problem
New York.
here. You know, while the Mets are trying to put things back together again, you've got the Yankees on the other side of the city, just basically running the city. And
yeah, but you can't really compete with the Yankees right now, especially if I'm the Mets. No, I can't come. I just throw the towel, rebuild, and get ready for next year. When I have money, because I'm gonna have money, I'm not gonna have Scherzer's, I'm not gonna have Verlander's contract. Use that money, and get some good free agents.
Can we talk baseball and stop talking about the
Mets,
Yankees, and the Mets? Can you just stop? I'd stop it already. I had enough of the damn Yankees already. And
Ralph, we lost an angel.
Yeah, we sure did.
My boy, Angel Hernandez, man, what a character.
Yeah,
rest in peace, boy.
And that was your boy too, man. That was your boy. By the way, speaking of which, while we're talking, Baltimore Orioles, of course, just a game and a half behind the Yankees. And beside that, it's not pretty much no one else in the American League East.
I will say this: Corbin Burns was very good last night, from what I saw, and I didn't see much.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I didn't see. I heard.
Very good last night against the Red Sox.
Can I ask a question? Who the hell are the Cleveland Guardians?
They the Kansas City Royals, by the way. Never mind the Guardians.
Oh no, both of them. I was going to get to the Royals, but boy, these two
Royals
teams
actually spend money.
Yes,
Cleveland is doing this out of nowhere.
Yes.
Right. That's what. Yeah, and that was the key right there, because at least Kansas City went out to buy some of this. Where the hell
they got
did the Guardians?
They got Waka, Renfro, I think.
Yeah, they also spent a ton of money on Bobby Witt Jr. too. Let's not forget that part. But the Guardians, I think, is a more interesting story because of the fact that they really didn't spend money this offseason to add to that roster. There had been some talk that they were going to shed money from that roster because they were interested in letting Shane Bieber go. They were interested in doing a couple of other things too to try and get that payroll back in a reasonable situation for them. But all of a sudden, they started playing very good baseball, and I do think that their mentality about this team and about how much money they now want to spend on this team has completely flipped.
Yeah. Now
that division is a hell of a lot better than we thought it was back in mid-February. There's no question about that.
Yeah, right. And in contrast, what the hell is going on in the American League West? You could barely play 500 ball out there.
Yeah. All these years was the American League Central. Now it's gone west.
We thought the Houston Astros would get it together. They may still get it together, but I'll tell you what, it's not the same team.
I don't know, John. I'm looking at that baseball team, John. I don't know. I don't know.
It's not the same team.
It's not the same team, man. You got some familiar faces, but it's just not the same. It's just not the same team. I don't know if they're going to get out of this hole this year, making.
What really is disappointing is that the Seattle Mariners are not taking advantage of what's going on in that.
No, because Texas is playing bad baseball,
right?
And Seattle, who was on a roll, all of a sudden are playing 500 ball now, and not, like you said, not taking advantage of a situation they should easily be taking advantage. Yeah. And here goes the question. Oh, Alejandro. We can't hear you.
Mute yourself here.
We can't hear you. We can't hear you. Papi, we can't hear you.
There you go. Nope, still can't.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. Testing. Nope. Testing. Nope. You're going to have to get out and come back in. I know, it sucks, don't it? What did you do? What did you do? Did you turn the car off or something? Or you turned the mic off? Or?
You shouldn't do that.
All right. While we're waiting for Alejandro to while we're waiting for him to come back, guys, of course, unfortunately for the Atlanta Braves, Ronald Acuna Jr. goes down again. Second. Yeah, and this is his second time on this, John. His second. And the Philadelphia Phillies are playing absolutely fantastic. The best baseball now in Major League Baseball. They built a six-game lead on the Braves, and John, I think it's just going to get worse for the Braves.
Well, I say this: if it does get worse for the Braves, that'll be very interesting to see how they handle this. But we have talked all since spring training began about the Dodgers being the dominant team, and that the Dodgers would just run away with not only their division but also the National League itself. I'll tell you what, the Phillies are creating that other team
Nasty.
easy to give them a run for their money. They're pitching, they're hitting, they're playing good defense. Bryce Harper's becoming a Gold Glove first baseman all of a sudden. There's everything that this team is doing. They're doing it very well, and it just is. It's really something to see because the city of Philadelphia has had their issues lately with some of their teams, but not with this one.
Oye, Pai, esos Phillies están.
I posted something about Ranger Suarez and how surprisingly good he has been.
Yeah.
And you mix that with the guys of Arnola, with the guys of Zach Wheeler, which is an outstanding starter. Then you got that offense. You got everybody's is clicking at the all cylinders at the same time, and I'd be surprised if they lose that division. I had the Braves, but the Braves are having issues, especially with Acuna out. Guys like Olsen and Riley underperforming. They might not. I mean, they probably have a good chance of a wild card, but I think that division belongs to the Phillies. The way they.
I think the Phillies could run away and hide by the time we get to 4th of July.
Definitely.
You know, John,
out the tools.
Like always, you read my mind, John. I was going to ask the question, not the question, but make the statement that, guys, you don't be careful here. If this goes the way it looks, because with Acuna Jr. gone and the Phillies playing as hot as they are, geez, man, this could be just about over after the All-Star break.
Well, look, I mean, and again, think about the rest of the division: the Mets, the Marlins, and the Nationals. None of those
Nationals are playing really well, though.
But I don't think they can challenge the Phillies for that division. That's the problem.
But they're no threat. They're no threat.
But they could take games away from the Braves. They could take games away from.
Which is going to allow the Phillies to run away with this division even sooner.
Oh, definitely.
And somebody tell me, Milwaukee. Yo,
I saw the Milwaukee Brewers over the weekend here. They came to Fenway Park and took 2 out of 3. That also is a team that is a lot better than I think some people thought. I think a lot of people thought that when Corbin Burns was traded to Baltimore that the decline was about to begin.
Exactly, John. Definitely not a first place team. I did not.
No, I didn't think they were either.
No, not a first place.
They've allowed themselves to regroup and have become very, very good. And that is a team that in that division, with a division that is as wide open as that one is, can be a very scary opposition.
Definitely.
Yeah. I like it. I like it because, okay, look, I hate the Yankees. But obviously, baseball is, baseball when the Yankees are playing good baseball. That it's kind of like an unwritten rule in baseball. Baseball is really good when the Yankees are really good.
Well, let's face it, baseball makes a ton of money when the Yankees are really good.
Exactly. But, you got the Guardians, the Phillies, the Brewers, the
Royals.
The Royals.
Right.
You got these teams. Hell, Minnesota's 6 games over 500. You got
the problem I have with the Minnesota Twins is they're too up and down.
Oh, yeah. Very inconsistent.
And they can do it almost in the same breath. That's the problem I have with them.
They have been very inconsistent for the better part of the year. They'll go on a streak and then they'll go on a losing. But it makes for a great first half of the season with these stories.
That's exactly what I was going.
Yeah.
Now you got teams like Kansas thinking about buying. You got teams like Detroit thinking about.
Oh, you know what? I didn't think about that angle right there, guys. John, the how this affects when it comes time for buyers and sellers.
Oh yeah, absolutely it will. And again, the Royals have put themselves in that position. The Tigers have put themselves in that position that they can buy here. We'll see what they want to purchase when the time comes. But there's no doubt that these teams have really put themselves in position to be something and do something.
Yeah, and I have the
Louis?
feeling there's some good pieces are going to be moved, like Bregman.
Right. I mean, look, if
That
the Red
guy,
Sox are not anything when we get to the deadline, I think Kenley Jansen will be out there for somebody who needs a closer.
definitely.
I think there are going to be some interesting names out there when it comes time this year, guys. So let's pay attention to
And
that.
if the Braves are not anything, by the way, when you get to the trade deadline, I would think guys like Charlie Morton and Chris Sale will be available.
Oh, definitely a Morton and Sale. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Any help I can get there, Louis? Downgrading the Yankees. I can appreciate that. I don't need them to make any moves. Okay.
Now another surprise team that has surprised me negatively is the D-backs, the Diamondbacks. I mentioned Corbin Carroll. Wherever he goes, the team goes.
Yeah.
But somebody got to step up there, man, and tell that kid, get your shit together. And the whole team. I mean, I think if they keep playing the way they play now, they're gonna be sellers. And there's a lot of pieces there. There's a lot. A guy like Ketel Marte.
I think the run that the Diamondbacks made last year is the run the Diamondbacks made. I don't think they can sustain what they did, and I think that's become a bit of a problem here.
I don't know. They got talent there. They got
There's
pitching
talent there, but there doesn't seem to be there's no direction here like there was last year when they made that run in the second half and got to as far as they did to the championship series. There was that, guys like Evan Longoria are not there anymore. And I think that veteran leadership that they don't possess at the moment is really starting to hurt this team.
All right. So we wind down to two final segments before final thoughts. We go to I do it all the time. Look, guys, I do it all the time.
Look, I already have a problem with the college baseball field of 64. I already have the problem. And
well, good, John. Good. I want to know what's the problem.
The problem is not teams. The problem is a league. The Colonial Athletic Association got flat out screwed. You have two teams, the Northeastern Huskies, who had an RPI of 35, College of Charleston that had an RPI of 40, and they both did not make the field.
Ow.
Northeastern had a 37 win season, 5 wins against Power 5 teams, and didn't get there. College of Charleston had an RPI of 40, a 41 win season. They were 41-14, did not get there.
That doesn't make any sense.
The way this was done is just awful, and they screwed the league, and that can't happen. You can't have two teams with RPIs inside the top 40 that not make the College World Series.
I didn't even think it was possible, John. How the hell are you in the top 40 and don't make the field of 64?
You have to make the field of 64. You have to do it. The idea that 11 SEC schools made it is becoming ridiculous. And again, this is where we've had this conversation before. The Power Fives are trying to get rid of the mid-majors. They're really trying to do it, and they're starting to make headway. And unfortunately, I think what is going to happen here is that the NCAA is going to have to create a mid-major tournament so that these mid-major schools that deserve to be a part of this at least become a part of something. The idea that Northeastern and College of Charleston in particular didn't get to this field is absurd.
Now, who got in? Who got in their places?
It's got to be SEC schools. It has to be ACC schools.
Exactly. I was going to say it can't be anyone but whether an SEC school or an ACC school, right? Those are the top choices right there. And I like what you said because I'm sick and tired of this damn monopoly. You guys want a monopoly? Why don't you just go ahead and do it? Just because, again, we live in a society of the elite. Unfortunately, in real life, the elite want all the power. They want all the money. They want all the control. They want to make all the rules. And it's bad enough that we have to live in a society like that in this politically charged environment. But now we look at sports and college football and college baseball. They're trying to do the same thing. It's like, screw the little guys because the elites make us all the money. So we're going to give everything to them and give all the advantages to them. And how do you have two teams? John, you're right. That really annoys me. How do you have two teams in the top 40 that don't make the field 64? That's like impossible.
And in the Northeastern's case, you've got wins against Power 5 schools. In their case, 5. 1 against Arizona, 1 against Georgia Tech, 2 against Boston College, 1 against Minnesota, and it still didn't do them any good.
Yeah.
That's insane. That's insane. I mean,
and those 5 Power 5 wins, 4 of those Power 5 wins were on the road.
Wow. I mean, literally a resume of 2 teams where before the field of 64 was set, 2 teams that we would have said, oh, I'm not worried about them. They're getting in. They're shooting. And
based on their record, based on their and
RPI, everything, and they don't get in. That's
ridiculous.
And that's the problem. And that is becoming the problem here, is the fact that because the Power 5s are really starting to control the way these things are being set up, it's got to stop. Look at the softball tournament. Every SEC team in the NCAA softball tournament, every SEC team made the field. All 11 of them made it. If you look at the 16 teams that made the Super Regionals, they were all Power 5 schools. Every team that made it Oklahoma City, a Power 5 school. The mid-majors in college softball never had a chance. They never had a chance.
It's really, really disheartening when you hear that. But the field of 64 is now set. We'll go ahead and make sure to pay attention to that and keep you up to date on the progress. We'll talk about that next week as the games go on. They do start tomorrow, right, John?
Yeah, they start tomorrow. The field of 64 begins tomorrow at 16 sites across the country, and hopefully there'll be some upsets. Hopefully, if you're a mid-major fan, you're hoping that East Carolina gets something done. You're hoping that a couple of other mid-majors that are there get something done, because if not, this is just going to be a Power 5 tournament. That's all it's going to be.
That's a great place that you went there, John. Because when you think about that, that's pretty. I don't even know if I want a part of that. I mean, what's the sense of going halfway through the field and all you've got left is SEC and ACC teams? That's like, then why are we doing this? Why are we doing this?
And I think that's what the Power 5 is trying to say. Why do we need schools that we can beat up anytime, anywhere?
And they know when they do things like this to those 2 schools, it's telling the other schools, this is the power that we have, and we can do this whenever we want. In other words, we're trying to push your ass out of here so we can just make this a Power 5 program. That's a damn shame.
And so you have to hope that schools like East Carolina and Dallas Baptist do something, get to a super regional, or maybe at least one of them gets to Omaha, so that the mid-majors can be represented by somebody and have something to hold on to as you start talking about next year. Because, again, next year, think about what's going to happen. Oklahoma and Texas are joining the SEC. You have all schools are basically going to just implode and go wherever they can go. You're going to have California and Stanford and SMU coming to the ACC. And so the dominance of the Power 5, not only will it continue, but it's probably going to be stronger.
Yeah. And John and I are big supporters of the little guy. It's one of the things that has drove NGSC Sports to where it is, because I remember a long time ago when we had others on the executive staff, so to speak, that were saying, let's do the NFL, let's do the NBA, let's do the NHL. And John kind of whispered in my ear, and he said, Rob, I understand that, and that's all good and well. He said, but what about the little guys, the smaller leagues, the smaller divisions? What about them? And I was like, that's true. We could kind of concentrate, and it's worked very well for us.
The Northeast Conference, the Northeast Baseball Conference had 3 teams this year that finished with 30-win seasons: Sacred Heart, Merrimack, and Long Island University. 3 of them. Now, Long Island University is the one that won the automatic bid, and they got into the field. I mean, the Northeast Conference is a one-bid league, but the fact that 3 of them were able to win 30 games this year is a significant step forward for what you would call a small mid-major conference.
So we'll keep up with the Field of 64 as they make their way to where we will crown a college baseball champion.
Hey, look, St. John's Red Storm got to the tournament.
How about that? Grambling is in?
You know, I don't know if there were any HBCU schools that made it this year.
No, I'm saying Grambling.
I don't know.
Grambling's in the Field of 64.
With a 500, what's their record? Under 500 or above?
I don't know. Wait a minute. Let me go back there because I just realized that before I closed it out and I said, wait a second. I just realized, hold on, where is it? Here it's Field of 64. Where did I go? Everyone previewed right here. And in the Athens regional, in the College Station regional, it will be Texas A&M, Louisiana, Texas, and Grambling.
What's their record?
I'm going to it. I didn't know Grambling was a baseball school.
Nor did I. I knew they had football. I knew they had basketball. I didn't think they had baseball.
Neither did I.
Okay, John, they must have got an automatic bid or something. John, they're 25.
They must have won their league. Yes, that's probably how they get in.
They're 25 and 25.
Okay, so they won their league. Now, here's the thing here's the other part that you have to remember. The 64 teams that get into this tournament, they do get paid for getting there. They don't get the $1 million that the 68 get for making the NCAA men's basketball tournament, but they do get paid and they get their expenses paid for the weekend that they are wherever they end up being sent. So for a school like Grambling, even if they are 25 and 25, they're going to make some money off this. That's going to help them to improve their program, their facility, and so forth, to hopefully become a better team. There were 2 schools that made it for the very first time. High Point is one, and Niagara University is another one. Those 2 made it for the very first time. And again, they're going to reap the benefits financially of being able to make the tournament.
Yeah, they beat Jackson State Sunday for the SWAC tournament championship. And we need to think about that, John. That was in Atlanta. I'm not too far from Atlanta. I wouldn't mind doing the SWAC baseball.
Now, that would have been Texas Southern too, right?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, yeah. So what happened in Texas Southern? Where are they? They got beat by somebody, obviously. Texas Southern. Yeah, here they are. Yeah. So I got to think about that. All right. So we've gotten to that point where I asked Louis, final thoughts.
Well, I'm just sorry to say the Yankees are hot and the Mets are not. But, it's only going to early June. So there's plenty of time to, for one team to rise up and another team to just crash and burn. So we'll have to see, because this is now the time of year where you separate from the pack. And, but I'll say one thing. You got to feel sorry for the AL West. Ugh, what a horrible division that is. It used to be the AL Central. Now it's shifted over to the West. Oof. Yep. What an ugly mess that is.
So in other words, what Louis is saying here is that the Mets are going to crash and burn. That's basically what you're saying here.
No, I think they can. I think they can rise above. I mean, I think they will get their act together, at some point. I'm not writing them up just yet.
I think he was just.
There you go.
I think he was just trying. I think he was trying to be nice there, and he's really full of shit.
Yeah, I think he's trying to be nice.
I agree. Yes.
Yeah, Louis, do me a favor. Don't compliment the Mets when you don't mean it. Don't say nothing nice about them when you don't mean it, Louis. Don't do that. Jesus Christ, Louis. Come on, do me a favor. Be like me, Louis. I hate the fucking Yankees. Okay, it's okay. All right.
It's okay to hate the Yankees. It's okay to hate the Mets.
Alejandro, my puppy.
Well, going back to where we were a few minutes ago, I'm curious about who's going to be the buyer and the sellers in the trade deadline this year, because I don't know which direction anybody's going nowadays. Even St. Louis, like 2 weeks ago, there were sellers. Now they might end up buying. So he's some crazy stuff going on. Yeah, I can't wait to the trade deadline, man.
Well, mine goes back to the MLB and the Negro League stat. Look, people try to put racism under a cover. Like, if they can hide it, they'll hide it. If they don't have to talk about it, then they won't talk about it. Because you don't want to talk about something, or because you want to hide from something, doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Racism exists. It exists everywhere. It exists today. It's happening right now as we do this podcast, and will continue to happen for all of our lifetime. The racial injustices done to, in particular in our American history, to the African American community, from enslavement to freedom to then being left on everything that they've had to endure. I think of the mindset of these Negro players, knowing what, or at least thinking, not knowing, imagining what they had to endure and how hard it was for them, and knowing I'm better than them. We're better than them. A lot of them could say that, we really believe we're better than this major league, and they won't let us play. And, hats off to Major League Baseball. It's a shame that in the 21st century, we're still having first when it comes to African Americans and women. It's really a damn shame that it's 21st century and it's still happening. But you can't change life. This is the way it is. Like the saying goes, better late than never. So I'd like to say thank you to Major League Baseball, although it looks like it's going to be a lot of controversy, and we'll definitely talk about it here. Congratulations, Major League Baseball, for doing the right thing for a league that should have never endured what it endured. You should have just let the guys play, But we got to understand, times were different. Yeah, times were different back then. It was normal for us to walk down the street in 1933, 34, 1929, and, well, it was white people and Negroes over there or over there. So, but at least it's happening. So I'm just happy that happened. I'm sorry for players, all these great players who have been dead for so long that, but at least their families and their bloodline can at least relish, because you got to understand, for the minorities that have been discriminated against, it's been a long ride. So when you get a little recognition, appreciate it. And when you got guys, you got names like Charleston and Gibson and Page and the rest of these guys, they deserve their place. They deserve their place. So I'm glad they got it. Thank you for joining us. This is In the Batter's Box, the NGSC Sports weekly baseball show. Of course, joined by my co-hosts, John Doucette, Alejandro Vargas, and Luis Tenor. Don't forget to catch Louis on Saturday on his show, the Enhanced Sports Show, 4 to 6 p.m. Remember the website? It is NGSCsports.com, where we catch all of our current content. Yeah, I'll be back soon with that political show. Trust me, I can't stay away from that political show. But I will tell you this: I'm gonna have a whole lot of fun on social media tonight with the brain dead before I go to sleep, folks. I promise you that. Thank you for joining us. And like I always say, or as we say down south, we holler at y'all. Peace.